Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm Patrice, and today's video we are going to be unboxing a tumbler press from REFERRAL. Okay, y'all, so we're about to just jump into this unboxing. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you're a new or returning viewer, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. I would love it if you would join us and be a part of the Craftable Things family. So let's get this unboxed, and this is just the user manual, and it is very detailed, and I love that REFERRAL provides visuals. I have opened several of REFERRAL's heat presses or tumbler presses, and I am always impressed and just happy that it's so easy to use. So let's go ahead and get this out of the box. And this is the tumbler press, and y'all, they say that this is a portable tumbler press, and it is really cute with the handles and everything, but this is everything that comes with it. You get some extra fuses, of course you get your cord, but we're gonna go ahead and get this open. You can sub up to a 30-ounce tumbler in this, so a 20-ounce and 30-ounce tumbler and a 10-ounce or 11-ounce mug. Y'all, you can do so many different things with this one tumbler press, and that's why I am happy that I'm going to be trying it out. And of course, REFERRAL provides heat tape in the color of the machine, as well as some heat gloves. Now, these are just basic generic heat gloves. These are not going to really protect you from all of that heat. Okay, so you may want to look elsewhere for that. Nonetheless, it's super easy to just get started. So that is the cord. You want to make sure you plug that cord in and tighten it up on the machine. That is how your heat press will get heated. That is the on and off button for the machine, and it looks kind of different than some of the other heat presses I've used, even some of the other REFERRAL heat presses. So now we're just going to go ahead and get our machine plugged up, but as y'all saw, it was super easy to get that unboxed and ready to press. So they sent me a few tumblers, so let's check out these tumblers that they sent to me. And yep, I'm just going to flip that over and take it out that way. And try to make sure that I'm not cutting anything that I should not be cutting with these scissors. And here we are. So they have these rubber bottoms, and I love this. You can place those on the bottom of your tumblers. They also sent some shrink wrap, but we won't be using that because we're going to be using the heat press, and you don't really want to put that shrink wrap in your heat press. I love these boxes that the tumblers come in. We can turn this into something else, and I think that I might try to do another DIY project with some of these boxes, but this is our tumbler. It's a basic 20-ounce tumbler, and it also comes with a set of straws, metal straws. I like that. All right, so that's pretty much it. Let's get ready to find a design and also press these tumblers. If you are new to crafting, you want to explore these two websites I'm about to show you. So CRICUT is full of resources that you may want to use for your crafting needs, especially if you're new and you want to find images and fonts. And so they have different fonts, they have various images, and you can also get some for free or at a discounted rate. So if you click on their discount deals, typically they update every week and they are about $1. Now, I am an all access member, and so I don't have a price here. Everything on their site is available to me. You will be able to explore that also. I'll have a link listed below in the description if you are interested in becoming an all access member. But they have so many different images that you can use for your various projects and your business needs. So let's look at the other site. The other site we're going to look at now is Design Bundles, and Design Bundles has a lot of different resources as well. And so here, let's just click on the Halloween craft bundle. And so they have bundles, and you can select any of these images and designs if you purchase one of their bundles. They also have items that you can purchase, and it does not have to be a part of a bundle. Okay, so we are going to head over into Microsoft Word and print out our design. Now we're inside of Microsoft Word, and typically I use Adobe Illustrator, but if you are new to crafting and this sort of thing, you probably don't have Adobe Illustrator. So we're going to pull our image into Microsoft Word, which is a program that most computers have. So now we're going to get ready and bring in our image, and you want to select the Insert tab. And I'm going to select pictures, and we are going to select picture from file. And so this is in my downloaded area because I downloaded this from Creative Fabrica. And so with this particular file, there's a tapered version of the file, and then there's also this art flow, which is the straight tile. Okay, so now our image is in Word, and I actually went to layout, and for orientation I chose landscape. So what we need to do now is we need to make sure that this measures the correct size. And so let's check the size of our design, and we want this to be 9.375. We're going to do 9.38, and then I want to make this 8 inches. So we have this sized exactly how we need it to be sized. So I'm showing you another image only because I want you to be very clear about your sizing. So this is another PNG file, and if I were to upload it into any other design software, it would appear as though it is clear that there's nothing around the image. However, there is clear space around the image, and that space is being calculated into the size of the actual image. So when I click onto the sides to kind of adjust the size, it says that it's 6.64 by 6.5, but it really is calculating all of that area around it and not the image alone. All right, so in order to fix that, you want to either remove the background or you can remove it by cropping it. All right, so today we're going to remove it by cropping it, and I am just going to right click and select crop. Once I do that, this outline is kind of highlighted, and we are going to just click onto certain parts and remove that space. And so that is how you will be able to make sure that you are sizing it correctly. So you want to remove that space. So some files come in like this and some files do not. You just have to make sure that you pay attention to that. So now I am reducing that. And if you're doing it inside of Word, you want to make sure you can see it very clearly and that there isn't any extra space that you can't see. Okay, and so now I am just going to click outside of that boundary box, and guess what? Now everything is as it should, and we have a nice clean box around just the image, and that's what you want. So when I click onto the side to kind of resize it, now we see originally it told us it was about a 6.64 by 6.5. Now when I click onto it, it's a 5.23 by 4.57 because it is now only measuring the actual image. All right, so I just wanted to show you all that before we print it out. So in case that happens to you, you will know. So now we're all set up and it's time to print. So I'm going to head to File and select Print. Once we do that, the print dialog box comes up, and today we are going to be using an Epson Eco Tank 15,000, which has been converted, but really you are just putting ink inside of the ink tanks. All right, and so we are going to head into adjusting our print settings, and to do that I just clicked onto where it says copies and pages. I clicked onto that to expand that drop down menu, and we are going to select print settings. And so if you have already downloaded all of your printer drivers, you will get more options. You will see these options that I'm using today. And to download print drivers, you want to download it from the Epson.com website. So today we are going to select our media type, and I will be using the plain paper bright white settings. With sublimation, it's usually recommended to use premium presentation matte. However, I don't see a big difference, and I'm going to be using the plain paper bright white setting, which lays less ink than the premium presentation matte. However, I don't experience any excessive ink or any roller marks or anything like that using this media type. Next, we're going to select print quality, and I am going to select quality. Now, if you have a different Epson printer, sometimes your options are a little different. So whatever options you have, I would always use the best quality when printing sublimation. Of course, you want to make sure that you mirror your image. So I am selecting mirror image. And then those are settings for this particular area. Next, I want to expand that menu option again, and we are going to select color options. For color options, I am going to expand advanced settings, and I am going to change the mode from Epson Vivid to Adobe RGB. Okay, and the gamma, I am going to leave the gamma the same at 2.2 since this is a very dark image already. So I am just going to leave the gamma at 2.2. However, if you want to change the gamma to 1.8, you can, and that brightens up your image. Okay, so if you're experiencing dark prints and you don't like the dark prints, you can lighten that up by reducing the gamma to 1.8. As you saw, that picture kind of lighten up a bit when we changed it. Now, once you get a little more advanced, you can adjust your brightness and contrast, the cyan, magenta, you can adjust that. However, I typically don't need to. All right, so now we are all set, and I am going to click print. While it's printing, I'm going to show you how to customize this a little more and add text. So you want to select the Insert tab, and after you're done selecting the Insert tab, go to Text Box, draw text box, and then you can just draw your text box. I know you can't see really good right here, and then I'm going to type in Miss Wilson. Once that is done, we're going to bring the text box over. And as you see, the text box has a white background, and you can even see the border. May not want that, right? So what we want to do next is we want to remove the white background, and we want to remove that border around it. So I am just going to select the text box, and we're going to go up to where it says Shape Fill, expand Shape Fill, and we are going to select No Fill. Okay, and so right now that removed that white background, but as you see, we still have a border around it, and that's not going to look all that great, and so we want to remove the border as well. So if you look to your right, you see where there's a Format Shape box that's open, and we are going to select line. You could do the same thing with fill. I just showed you another way of removing that background, but with fill, you could do the same thing that I'm going to show you how to do over here on this side. So next we're going to select line, and that's the line around. Okay, and right now it has a solid line, but we don't want any line, so we are going to select no line, and that will remove the line from around our box. So we are just going to format, or we're going to change our text. And so I went back to home, and the text that we're going to use, it really doesn't matter. I just wanted to kind of show you all how to do that. And I am going to place this here. Now you can adjust the size of your font by selecting at the top. Let's say we want to make this a 24. but we're going to have to expand our text box a little bit to see it. And can you change the color? Yes, you can. Just go up again to the top toolbar, change your font color. Let's say we want it to be purple, and now it's purple. You can change it to whatever color you want it to be. All right, and so once you've done that, you can kind of rearrange it. Like, I would probably want to get it a little more centered underneath the eyes, and maybe make it a little bit larger. But as you make it larger, just remember you got to keep expanding that text box so all of it will be seen. All right, and so once you're done doing that, you can go ahead and print it the same way I showed you before how to print it, but now you've added a name to it. So we're all done printing our image and everything looks great. So all I'm going to do now is cut away all of the white space that is around the image. You don't want any white space left because that will be seen on the tumbler once you get ready to press it. So let's go ahead and just cut this. You can use a paper slicer to get this done. I'm just using scissors today. You want to make sure that you get all of that space, all of that white space off. So now it's time to wrap our tumbler, and I am going to remove the top. You also want to make sure that you clean your tumbler off so that there's no residue or anything on the tumbler that could prevent it from subbing correctly. And so right now I am using an alcohol wipe. And before I place the image around the tumbler, I am going to let the tumbler dry. So now we need to wrap the tumbler, and I am just going to place it this way and just make sure that it will be a complete wrap, and it is. There is going to be a slight, and when I say slight, I mean very slight overlap, which is what you want. You don't want too much of an overlap, because if the overlap is too much, then the ink from the top side that you wrap will bleed through, and that portion will look a lot darker, and you may not want that. So you don't want an overlap that is going to be too much. All right, and so I am going to actually press it down this way, and by doing that I'm pulling the image down so that it can be flushed with the top of the tumbler. And so as I'm doing that, I'm pulling this very, very tightly. And so I am going to start taping the tumbler. And so as I look at the bottom, I just want to make sure everything is going to be even. And I am going to tape this side, and I would recommend moving that, but since I've already pushed that tape down, I am not going to remove that sticker. But as I'm pulling, I'm just pulling it very, very tight, and so I am now going to pull that tight. You want to make sure that there is no possible way for any air to be able to get underneath. So pull it very tightly, and what I'm going to do before I even do that, I'm just going to take this and pull it across that way to kind of help apply pressure that way. And then I'm going to tape it here. Just pull it around. All right. And so now I'm going to continue taping the tumbler. I am going to tape that entire seam down. And there's different ways you could do it. You could do it and just kind of like pull it over to help apply pressure. And then I am going to take more tape and just press down on that seam area. I'm going to push that down even more. And then this is just pulling that side. I'm just wrapping this underneath like that. And so I'm just gonna take my hand and just kind of make sure this is pressed down, because you don't want any air being able to get underneath. That will cause ghosting. All right, so for me right now, everything is all set. I am not going to tape around the bottom or tape around the top. You can use a silicone wrap when applying this or when putting this into a tumbler press. I am just going to put a piece of butcher paper around so that none of this ink will go through the sub paper. All right, today I'm using a sublimation paper, and the ink that I'm using is dynamic ink, which can be found inside of my Etsy shop. Before we turn the tumbler press on, we want to check the pressure. So to check the pressure, we are going to unlatch it, and to unlatch it, you are going to press that lever down, and then it will release, and then you will open your press. Then we are going to place the tumbler inside, and I am going to close the tumbler, and we're going to check that pressure. Now, this tumbler should not be able to move while it is inside of the tumbler press. You should be able to see that it is snug inside and that it is not able to move. You don't want to apply too much pressure, because this is pretty strong and it will bend your tumblers, and you don't want that. So you need to make sure that you have the right amount of pressure. And as you guys see, I could still push it, right? So I don't want it to be where I could push it. So to adjust the pressure, I am just turning it to notches, and you want to make sure that the pressure is even all the way through. And as I push now, is it that easy to push it through? Not really that easy, but I still want to go ahead and do one more push. And yep, that's perfect. It's not moving, but you don't want to overdo it. All right, so this pressure is good for me. I am going to now unlatch it, and then we are going to turn on the press. So now we're ready to turn the tumbler on, and to turn the tumbler on, you are going to press this green on switch. And the digital display has lit up, and now we need to set the temperature, and we are going to be setting this temperature to 365 degrees Fahrenheit. As it is now, it is on Celsius, and so we need to change that to Fahrenheit. And so what we're going to do is we are going to press the OK button. We're going to do a long press, and we want it on Fahrenheit. To set the temperature, we are going to press OK, and P1 is for the temperature, and we are going to set this for 365. A long press will help that move more quickly. Now we're going to press OK. And so P2 is the time, and we are going to set this for 120 seconds. So I went ahead and placed butcher paper around the tumbler to prevent any of that ink from getting onto our attachment. The temperature is set to 365, and now it's time for us to press our tumbler. And I am just noting where I have this center or this overlap here, because when we get ready to flip the tumbler, I want to make sure that this portion is making contact with the bottom of the heating element. All right, so right now everything looks like it is centered, and it is time for us to do our first press for 120 seconds. Okay, so this is counting down for 120 seconds, and make sure your pressure is right. You don't want too much or too little. Too much will distort your actual tumbler. All right, so now we are all done, and it is time for us to release the latch, and we are just going to push it down the same way we did before, and that will release your tumbler. So now we just need to rotate that tumbler so that the part that was not making any contact with the heating element, it will now make contact with the heating element. Okay, so just make sure that it is lined up correctly. You will only worry about this or do this part if you are doing a full wrap tumbler. If you are just placing one small image on the front of your tumbler, you don't have to worry about doing this. So now we are going to let this sit in the tumbler press for about 50 seconds, and it was still at the original time. I did not change it, so I need to monitor this and make sure that I take this out at the 70-second mark, because 120 minus 50 is 70. All right, so let's go ahead. We are at the 70-second mark, and we are just going to take this out. And now it's time for us to see what this tumbler is going to look like, and I am going to go ahead and remove all of the tape. Some of that ink looks like it was trying to escape that tape, but for the most part it looks like it's okay. Let's reveal. All right, so now it's time for us to reveal, and I can kind of tell where it looks like I kind of overcooked it a little bit, but this is what we have. And let's flip that over to see that seam, and it actually looks pretty good. Everything looks good. So the top, this is what our sub paper looks like, and it looks pretty good. Like all that color went off. We do have a little bit around the edges, but that could be just based off of the size and how it was a little bit larger. But this is what that top rim looks like, and this is the seam right there. This is the bottom. So not too bad, not too bad. And this is the front. All right, y'all, so we're all done with unboxing and testing this tumbler press from RECOMA, and they are saying that this is their portable tumbler press. It can press tumblers up to 30 ounces, and I found subbing this tumbler very easy. So this was an out of the box and pretty much plug up and press type of machine, and I love those types of machines. I am pleased with how this subbed, and it kind of lets me know that the heating element subs evenly, so you don't have to really worry about switching out any heating elements. And for any of you who may have other tumbler presses, or you've been looking, depending on the size tumbler that you have or even the shape, you often have to take out the heating element. Now, this is a straight tumbler. I do think that you would be able to sub a tapered tumbler just fine in this machine. This machine has the two different knobs for the pressure, and so you can adjust the pressure based on the type of tumbler that you're using. All right, so I don't think that that would be an issue with subbing tapered tumblers. So as with the other RECOMA tumbler presses that I've tried, I am pleased with it. I do like the ease of use with these tumbler presses, and I would continue using this tumbler press. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, check out the other content on this channel, and if you enjoy that content, I would love it if you would click that red subscribe button below. In addition, head over to Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok and join the Craftable Things community there as well. But that's it for today, y'all. Thank you all so very much for watching. Until next time.